Yeah, for some reason. Oh, there you go. Oh, I just saw a movement, but
Oh, did that do it? Let me see if I
yeah,
can
the
pick up
joys of
anything.
technology, eh?
I don't know. It's interesting because it looks fine from my side. So I'm not sure what that's all about. Who knows what it looks like on YouTube right now? Am I back now?
You are back.
All right.
Yep. Now I could and I was just lucky I happened to look out the window. And so I quick caught a picture of it through my kitchen window and then ran to the back of the house and got a short video clip until it had gone down. And then, but I said, if that had been 30, 40 years ago, I wouldn't have had a photo. I wouldn't have had a video.
Mm-mm.
I would have talked about this massive orange ball in the sky that I had seen to the west. And, that's really made me think about when investigators are talking to people about what they've seen, right? You're going to describe in terms that you know and understand. But like Enzo and I were talking as well, to me, it seemed like it was going to crash just on the other side of the city. And yet this thing was hundreds of miles away. And so to someone like Enzo, who's used to seeing things in the sky and figuring all that stuff out, he could easily do that. For me, it's like, that sucker's huge. It's close by. What's going on here? Type
Yeah,
of,
there's something
right,
different. There's something catching my attention that,
that I've
this
never
this is
seen.
unusual. Yeah, exactly. But
And
yeah, you're right. Not that long ago, you would have never got a picture of that with a film camera
yeah, yeah,
running and loading film into your
yeah.
and winding it.
I have tons of photo albums, and I remember, it was a big deal to go
Oh yeah.
buy film,
Hmm.
and you were very picky about what you were taking a picture of,
Sure.
and then you had to go get it developed and wait for a week, and yeah, in a way, it's funny because you were far more selective of what you were taking pictures of. You definitely took your time to make sure you were getting the capture that you wanted, because if you were off on holiday or something, it's not like you could just hop back over there when you got your photos back and, oh crap, it's blurry, or
Yeah, let me do this
whatever.
again. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And now we just kind of grab our phones, and it's insane the thousands of pictures I have of my cats.
Hmm.
And that's over years. My first boy, Cass, we didn't have cell phones and all of that. So I have still photos of him from my little Kodak click click camera. But all the others, like Morgan, who yesterday it was 5 years we said goodbye, I've got hundreds and hundreds of pictures of her and all the little critters since. Our boys, Wolf and Storm, I don't have any videos, but digital cameras were just starting when we had them. So I've got a bunch of different photos of them, but I still didn't have the cell phone pictures.
Hmm. Hmm.
So bump it back and do our band book for the next live stream.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can. I'm planning on talking about the banned books all year. So, yeah, that's either way, it'll work out. I must mention banned books just about every every episode I do now. Seems to
Nice.
come up, and I've seen a couple of excellent videos lately about banned books. Are you subscribed to the channel that's called Another Bibliophile Reads? The
No.
the gentleman is named Greg, and he did one on banned books the other day that was great. There's even a politician, I believe he might have actually been in Florida, and I think it's like his congressperson or somebody running for Congress or something, who is actually has some video of her burning books.
A politician?
Yes. Or somebody that's running. So it just goes to show how theatrical, this has gotten, and how some people are getting some mileage out of it, just political mileage. I mean, this woman probably has no idea what's in these books, nor has it ever affected her life,
Exactly.
and there she is,
votes.
it's all for the drama. It's all for the show. But it's interesting. So he has that one. I'd highly recommend taking a look at that if you can find it. And then ran across one yesterday. It's a younger lady. Her name is her channel is Allie Read a Book, and I think it's ALLY. Allie Read a Book. And her newest video is on banned books, and she actually talks about I think a Toni Morrison book that she's reading, and she's just she's involved in the MJ project. She's just very, very enthusiastic about it, and she just kind of brings a different energy to it, and I thought her video was very good as well.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Started following, and I mentioned during last week's live, because I've been talking about the banned books through some of the lives, and I know I think I've mentioned it in one of my videos. Last week I mentioned books, songs, and music. His name's Gareth. I think he's from the UK. Actually, I'm pretty sure he's from the UK. And I watched his summary on Animal Farm. He was last week, and this week he did 1984, which was
nice. Okay.
Yeah, and it was excellent. And I recommended people go check him out for Animal Farm, because his summaries will be different certainly than mine with 1984, because I tend to, like you, focus a bit more on the story, whereas Gareth, and he did an excellent job. And on Animal Farm, he started by talking about George Orwell and George's political views and the context of the story. And Gareth knew quite a bit about Russian history. And so he was explaining the whole thing about Animal Farm in terms of Stalin and Trotsky and how that all happened. It wouldn't turn out, and like he even said, and I didn't realize Orwell had died in his early 40s, mid 40s, I think, if that. So I didn't realize he had passed away so young. And Gareth was saying, wouldn't it be interesting to see what Orwell thought of this world we now live in 2024? Because some of the different things going on around the world, and Orwell was looking towards his future of what would the world be like in 1984, and well, now here we are in 2024. So thankfully Orwell wasn't accurate in terms of many of the the state and all of that type of thing, but on the other hand, there are some locations where people are trying to do exactly that.
Yeah, it's almost the perfect time to read 1984, because it's 40 years. 1984 is 40 years in the future from when it was written, but now it's 40 years more in the future. So yeah, really interesting. And I'm sure in 2084 it'll become a a thing to be read,
And that's it. And I mean, it's interesting too, and especially now with your comment about someone like literally burning books again. But I mean, I keep my hard copy books, one, because it's easy. I'm just one of those people, I need the book in my hand. It's that whole experience of reading for me. But I also think, isn't it, and but my husband he doesn't have a Kindle, but he reads on his tablet. And my thought is, when we had Rogers puke out a while ago, a couple of years ago, when they were doing an upgrade or whatever it was. And of course, if he didn't have the book downloaded, he couldn't get to any of his
Right.
books.
Right.
I was laughing because I'm like, well, look at me. I still got 500 books to choose from. So I don't know what you're going to do this weekend, but
Yeah, really.
I'm good.
Want to buy a book?
Yeah, exactly. I'll loan you one. But the other thing with that is, instead of burning books, people could just get access to whatever, and poof, your library's gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, and this is what gets me with some of the things, and why I've really limited. Well, part of it was because we were putting information together to get our wills and all of that stuff done. Not that we're going anywhere. It's just smart to know all of those things, right? And we were even talking just last night, and I said, it's been 26 years since my father passed away, and we had to go to 3 different counties to get all that paperwork and stuff taken care of. Now, you'd have to go to like 15, 20 websites, because different things people belong to, you've got your banking and your email and this and that, and all of this stuff now is online.
And a password for all of it.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, right? So you have all of this stuff, and that's why I've been really cutting back down, because it's not that I have anything like amazing or whatever out there that, but I'm thinking someone would have to spend a day or more
Okay.
just going through all that.
That's my dog. Yes.
See, the screen, I don't know why StreamYard is doing this. The screen's frozen again, but I can hear. Hi, Raina. I can't see you though, sweetie.
No, she's not quite tall enough to reach up all the way to the camera.
Yeah, I've got Tiki snoozing over here, and Zena's in the other room, and nope, Panther's not there, so he's in his basket in the back. They're all hanging out. I really am surprised nobody's come by. I mean, I know my streams are quiet, but not typically this quiet.
Yeah, I wonder what it is today. Have you read any other banned books besides 1984?
I have, actually. I'm almost finished Marked. I figured I'd go to vampires after political freak me out stuff. And I've actually, do you like vampire stories?
Not usually, but
Yeah.
what is it called? Marked?
It's Marked.
Oh, Marked. Okay, yep. Mm-hmm.
It's
Wow,
by
okay.
PC and Kristen Cast, a mother and daughter writing team. It's fun. It's banned in America. I didn't find it on the Canadian site, and I'm not sure. It's one of the ones I haven't looked up yet why it's banned. Oh, my husband must be home. I hear the door opening. Hi. Yep, so I'm early. But I'm not sure why that one was banned, other than it's basically like, have you ever read Harry Potter?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like Hogwarts for vampires. The school's called House of Night. For whatever reason, and they don't really explain it, I think there's at least 12 or 13 books to the whole series, and I've read the entire series once. And I read the first 4 years ago when I was still working in high school, because a number of the kids were reading it, so I thought, figure out what they're reading. And in this version, at 16 years old, there's some kind of a change that starts happening with kids, and they have to go to the house of night. They're called fledglings, and they have to be around the adult vampires. And there's a number of different things that happen. The funny thing about these vampires is that they also celebrate the full moon and Samhain, all the pagan holidays. And I'm like, that's got to freak people the hell out. And everything they do to cast a circle is actually what any of the witches, Wiccans would do to cast a circle. So how that tied in with vampires, I don't know. But I'm willing to bet there were people who were losing their minds about how much you could learn about witches and Wiccans from a vampire series.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Okay. Now, am I...
Oh, you're moving again.
Okay, I'm moving again. Okay.
Yep. I was looking for a way to be able to direct message, just because, that way you can stay in touch with people. It's much quicker. I mean, email's quick, don't get me wrong, a lot better than snail mail. But with direct messaging, you kind of have a quicker chance to get a response than, say, from email, and you're not kind of wondering, because what came up a little while ago was that I'd emailed someone and I know they're busy, and I didn't think about it until a week later, and it turns out they didn't get the email. But of course, that was a week later, right? So I thought, well, I'd still like to come up with a way to be able to direct message. And Discord, although thinking about the name is ironic, it's a communication platform.
I know, I was, yeah.
Yeah.
The first time I heard it, I thought,
really? See, I didn't like, oh, that's a cool name. And then I'm like, wait a minute. That's not what that means. See, again, 1984, although it was before I reread Orwell. But yeah, so we were so with the Mark series, and it was funny. And again, we can always redo this, and I may do this when I do my summary. I had planned to read the whole series again. And then I'm like, wait a minute, my TBR is insane. And every time I watch a booktube channel, I'm getting more and more and more books.
Me too, yes.
But here's what, and I'm just trying to pull this out without, see, this is the EA in me. And before I started really getting into doing videos, so this would have been March, what are we now, 24? So this would have been March 2022. What I did was read all of the books, and I think there's, is it 12? Let me just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I've only got 11, so I've missed something there. So I'll have to double check that. But what I did is I wrote a summary of every single book. I went through, I wrote page by page, characters, quotes, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to read all this for a video. I'm not back in school helping kids put together their essays.
Right.
That's not what people are tuning in for. So, I mean, I can tell you all the characters, what happened in each novel, page by page, well, event by event. And have you ever read The Alchemist
Yes.
by Paulo Coelho? Okay. And do I say that last name right? Coelho?
I think it's Coelho.
Coelho. And see, you could be right.
Yeah, which is a Portuguese last name.
So I'm going to have
Coelho. I think it means rabbit or something.
Oh, does it? That's
yeah,
cool.
I think so.
Look that up.
Yeah, I actually knew some people with that name. With the place I'm from in Massachusetts has a lot of Portuguese people.
Okay, so
and Coelho is a name there. Yeah, or they say Coelho. Yeah, Spanish and Portuguese are close, but there's enough of a difference on the way you pronounce especially the vowels, of course,
Yeah.
that it can make a
So,
difference, especially when two vowels are together. Because like in Spanish, two vowels together has one sound, usually. I don't
so
think it's a
it's
hard and fast
so
rule, but usually it has one sound.
this to me was like Santiago in the glass shop. I had to do it to get back into, okay, well, I'm doing this. I'm getting focused with the thought of I'm going to be doing videos about books. How am I going to describe them? So it's great because now I have them, but I've also decided like I'm going to finish Marked because the books are so quick and easy to read. They're like a day and a half at the most. There it is. So they're not really huge books at all, and I'm almost finished this one. I started it yesterday after I finished 1984. And then I thought I'll just do up a summary video of it. So I've finished 1984 and I'll be finished Marked. And then I found a copy of The Handmaid's Tale at a secondhand store.
Excellent.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be reading that. And actually, what I realized when I was going through all of my notes, because I've got all my little papers and things here, is that next week in Canada is Freedom to Read Week. It's the 18th to the 24th. So next, and I can get back to my library. Yay! So I'm on my way to the library tomorrow to pick up Go Ask Alice and Looking for Alaska. Now, they're both two books that I've read before as well. Looking for Alaska was a book that students could read in English for their novel study. So I'm one of those nerdy people who I pretty much read everything our students read because for me it was just easier knowing the story, especially because I was working with resistant readers who had learning challenges. So I'm not going to sit there and have them get all frustrated because so that way if I knew the story I could kind of hint and guide or get really excited about the book so that
Right.
they would get really excited about the book. But so Looking for Alaska was one of the stories that I'd read. The Giver was another story that I had read from high school. That's also on the banned list. I'm not sure why. Oh, wait. I did because this morning I went through for here, and I really do like the American list because it's so nice and concise. For Canada, you've got to go all over the place. But CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting System here, had a list of 29 books that they updated as of February 2023. Handmaid's Tale, of course, Margaret makes the list every year, everywhere, I think. That was because of violence and offensive language. Harry Potter, and this cracks me up just because I have a twisted sense of humor, was because of Satanism and witchcraft. Obviously, the people didn't read the book. There is no Satanism in there. I mean, unless they're thinking that's Voldemort, but like I say, they couldn't have read the book. And
Well, and witchcraft. I mean, didn't like Mickey Mouse do some witchcraft stuff?
Yeah,
Fantasia.
yeah, that's it. Well, and the funny thing
And the
is,
sorcerer. He was a sorcerer.
he was.
In one of the. It's called the Sorcerer or something like that.
The Apprentice, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Apprentice. Yes,
there we
that's
go.
right. Yep.
Well, what makes me laugh about reading that reason for Harry Potter, you'll learn more about witchcraft from reading the Marked series and the vampires than you will from that nonsense from J.K. Rowling, which has nothing to do. That's all Hollywood witches in her book. So I'm like, people, you didn't read any of these. And this is what frustrates me. And
That's right.
I mean, you said it yourself. These people don't read the books. They don't know what they're talking, like, they don't read the books.
No, I think they get a sense of a book, and I think for some books, it's just because they're a powerful book, and they know that it's going to affect lives in a certain way, and that people are going to be able to identify with it in a certain way, and that people who do that are going to be are possibly going to be powerful enough to move other people, move society, make some changes. Now, we got to do something about this. So they find a reason to make it banned. Well, if I went through just about any book, I could find a word I didn't like. I could find a scene that is graphic. I could find violence. I could find, I could find slang terms for people that I didn't like to see. But that's just picking and choosing out what you want the book to be banned for.
Exactly.
And the books aren't about those things. None of the books where they say, well, there's sexual content are books about sex specifically. Yeah. They're about humans.
Well,
sexuality is a part of it.
And I had one, and she's not on the list. How Anne Rice's The Witching Hour didn't make that list have you ever read this?
No.
You don't want, well, you may not want to. And again.
Well, now I do.
Not witches. Well, it's 1,200 pages.
Okay,
There's
now I don't.
There's a lot of repetition about the history and the characters, and it is nothing like the TV version, which I figured couldn't be because it wouldn't get on the air. It's a family of inbred individuals with men who really like their 13-year-old kids, grandkids, and nieces. And there's there's a lot of different biological stuff, and it starts all in Scotland. There's this character known as Lasher that has something to do with the family, and there's the Talamasca. Oh, so if you don't like vampires, you'd have never read the Vampire Chronicles. The Talamasca is this secret society that watches all these individuals, the vamps, the witches, and all of this, and they've been watching them for centuries, and all the books and that kind of thing. So, there's some interesting elements to it. The EA in me reading this went wild this time. I'd read it years ago, and there's 2 more books to it. There's Lasher and Taltos. Those 2 are actually good, partly because you learn more about Lasher and there's less of the family history to them because you kind of got it all covered here.
Right.
I don't know who got paid to edit this sucker, but there's at least 800 to 900 ands at the beginning of a sentence. Now, I thought everybody watched Conjunction Junction and knew that and is a joining word.
Yeah, I've been running into some interesting things in books like that that definitely violate, if you want to say, rules of grammar or something, dialogue that's not in quotes or attributed to a particular speaker that just is, in a row, which, it can be okay. It can be powerful in a way, but sometimes it can be also very cumbersome because you got to go back and figure out, well, wait a minute, who's speaking here? I went into that in a book recently, and I found it really more bothersome than I thought I was going to. So, and there's been some other things lately too. It's interesting. I guess, a lot of rules don't apply anymore, and so I guess rules of grammar don't apply anymore.
Well, and I had thought that too. Because, like I say, it's and I'm no grammar guru. Hanging participles and all that, I'm lost. But the word "and," it's just it gets me every time.
Yeah.
The irony is Because like you, I was thinking like, oh, okay, no, the society, what's going on? Colin Wilson, um, detect British writer, a lot of detective stuff and into some of the paranormal stuff. He wrote this big book, The Occult. It's another thickie like The Witching Hour. Talks about Lethbridge, who did stuff with pendulums and vibrations, a number of other people. I couldn't get past page 200 because I was crossing out all the ands. I'm like, you're an award-winning author. This was published in, I think it's the late 60s, early 70s. I'm like, this has been going on for decades. And I threw that book into the recycle box.
Mm-hmm.
Partly, and it wasn't because of the, ironically, it wasn't because of the content. The Witching Hour will be going there after I do something as well. And it isn't because I want to ban the book. I just refuse to pass on that much stupid. Like, it just irritates me. Come on, Anne Rice. How much money have you made?
Yeah,
well, not now because she's passed away, but do you know what I mean? It's like,
well, art breaks the rules. That's part of the job of art.
I guess.
I think is to break the rules, and sometimes something like that in a book can be, like I say, powerful. It's just another way of communicating it that brings a different feeling to something. But there's other times that I guess it just depends on your tastes and what you're expecting out of the book and what kind of mood you're in that day, maybe. So.
Well, in the case of Colin Wilson, I mean, it was a nonfiction research compilation. It shouldn't have been there. This is supposed to be a book that people are coming to for research purposes.
Right.
As far as Anne Rice, that book could have been cut down to 700 pages by the time you took out all the Annes. And if I read the family history of the Mayfair, that's what they're called. If I'd read the history about the Mayfair witches one more time, I was like going to have a V8 that sent my head to the next life. It's like, I got it. We started in Scotland.
All right, already.
Exactly. I'm like, why didn't you do like the Wheel of Time author and put it all in the back in a nice little chart instead of saying it over? Like, did you run out of story? Did you run out of plot?
Right.
Ah!
So what are you reading now? I've got to go in just a few minutes, so
Okay.
just show what we're reading now.
I'm going to be reading, and like I say, because next week's Freedom to Read, Handmaid's Tale, Looking for Alaska, Go Ask Alice. Hopefully the Lord of the Flies shows up soon, or I may try and look for a copy of it myself. So next week is getting to some of my banned books. How about you?
I'm reading, this was my book of the month for this month. Kristen.
Yes, how is that?
Kristen Hanna. It's really good. I just started it yesterday, and I'm already.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm getting in there. Yeah. So I'm enjoying it. It's about a nurse in Vietnam, so I'm really liking the story so far. And my next banned book, I think it's going to be, I want to try to do the top 13.
You mentioned, I need to look for that list.
Yeah, it's on the American Library Association, so ALA.org.
Okay, perfect.
And I've read, like I say, a few of those. I really want to do Gender Queer, which is like number one, and it's been number one for a while, of a banned book. I've already read the second one, which is All Boys Aren't Blue. I read that a couple of years ago. I read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison.
Yep, saw that review.
Yep, Flamer by Michael Curado. That's a I think it's a graphic novel. I haven't, or a graphic book. I haven't read that one. Looking for Alaska's on there. Perks
It's
of
a
Being a
great
Wildflower. Yeah, I want to read that one. So I'll definitely read that one this year. Perks of Being a Wildflower. I've read before, and that's what started MJ on her crusade.
Hey,
But that's a good book.
do you want to do Looking for Alaska as our buddy read?
Yeah, we could. Sure. That's probably not a bad idea.
Because I mean,
Because you've read it before, you think it'd make a good buddy read?
I think so. I mean, it's been a while since I've read it.
Okay.
And we could both, sorry, voice going. We could both give our perspective on it. It's been a while. I know I really enjoyed the story.
Okay.
And we're both planning to read it anyhow. We could, I mean, if we decide to change, we always could. But yeah, I think that would be a great one to do because it covers a buddy read, it covers banned books.
Banned book. Yeah, great.
Right? And we could even move up, like I say, in terms of our plans even, we could switch that to a different month for the buddy read. We can figure that out from there. But yeah, I think that would be a great one. Like I say, I enjoyed it. And another one that I want to read is A Clockwork Orange. I saw the movie years ago, but I've never read the book.
Yeah, I read that many years ago. Many.
Did you? See, yes. I haven't.
Before the movie even came out. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah, because I remember watching the movie when I was in college, but I'd never read the book. And I was doing a actually, and what blew me away, Goosebumps series. Are you are people trying to discourage kids from reading?
I know.
Harry Potter, Goosebumps. Those are kids looking for Alaska. 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I didn't read it because I'm just not into reading that type of book. If the youth are going to read, you need to find something they're interested in reading. And I actually, when I was getting stuff together for
age appropriate. Age appropriate. You know, I mean, obviously, you wouldn't give some of these books to the younger children.
No. I mean, these were seniors and that. And I mean,
exactly. You know, they're about ready to be adults. You know, and make their own decisions. So why not get them prepared by looking at some of this stuff? The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think that Allie read a book website I was talking about earlier. That I think that was the book that she said she like just found it somewhere, like just came across it somewhere in school. Was somebody left it in the auditorium or whatever, and she read it and she enjoyed it so much that she brought it back to the same place. And some other kids found it and read it also, and it meant something to them too. So yeah, it's interesting the way that people take to some of that stuff, and that's what interested them. Like what you're saying, it struck a chord.
Well, and I think that's why it's important, and I always did with my students, and I was lucky about being in the resource room because you could sit and have conversations. And to me, that was, 50 Shades of Grey? No, I don't want to chat about that, but I'm glad you're reading and enjoying that book. Now, how about The Hobbit and Looking for Alaska? Those I can...
Yeah, well, and there's issues in 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, you probably could start a good discussion about the nature of relationships and things like that. The relationship that those two people had, they had this contract for this to do these things, and what did they think about that? I mean, you don't always have to discuss the actual sexual acts, but
that's it.
Yeah, what do you think about the give and take between the two of them? How do you see something like that? What did you like about that? What did you not like about that? I think there'd still be probably a million things you could talk about.
There is, and actually, as you know, as I was saying that too, and because I can see the student who read the book, and she, and I'm like, so why are you interested? Oh, and so you're right. We did have a discussion about, and I mean that's it, and it really doesn't matter the book. There's all, like you say, you can talk about the relationships, you can talk about when the book was written, you can talk about any, I mean, and this is what irritates me and really irritates me that I'm not in school now. And this wasn't coming up when I was in school. I'm thinking, okay, we had all these don't bully things and assemblies out the yin yang for this and that fundraiser and everything else and prom and all the. Why in the hell didn't we have a freedom to read assembly?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
right.
sorry, and I worked a lot in English classes. Why was this not a big hoo-ha every single year when in February it's free to, I mean, hello, the new semester has started, they finished exams, you can't say it conflicted. Like, yeah, it's a big bugaboo. I'm like, okay, I've been out of a school now for 6 years and now I find out about, but I found an article from the UK that I may share in a video, but this is new guidelines urge libraries not to avoid controversial books and ideas. Because I decided to look up, because we both have UK viewers, and I decided to look up and see, well, what's banned in the UK. And I came across this article, and I'll definitely be reading it. It's a 52-page document that was put together encouraging them to not allow these different things to be banned. What I find interesting, and I actually had, because I read a lot of green craft books, so a book like this isn't banned because it isn't in the public library. This is why I've had to buy most of my green craft books. And no, I'm not a witch, just to clarify. But these books are packed with information about herbs, aromatherapy, crystals, honoring nature, gardening. So, no, I'm not into having a circle and dancing all around and that. I mean, to each their own. It works for some people. But you can't get these books in the libraries, at least in my area. So, in order to get that information, I've had to buy the books, order the books, but they're not on a banned list because guess what?
Well, yeah, they're not attracting that kind of attention. I had mentioned in one of my videos, it was 20 years ago now, granted, almost 20 years ago, I think, but there was a city council, I believe she was a city council member when I lived in Florida, and there was a display of gay and lesbian books, or not gay and lesbian books, actually, I think it was gay and lesbian authors for Pride Month.
Yeah.
And when she found out about that, that got taken down. I guess someone complained, and so that got taken down by the city council. And it didn't have it. It was just to say, look, these were written by people that maybe you didn't even know that they were gay.
Hey, Raina.
She was dying for her dinner, so I need to go. But yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, we could go on and on and on. But
well,
I'm learning so much about.
As am I.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, you take care, and I will see you next week.
You too, and we'll see if we can get some more people in here. I don't know, this is weird. It hasn't been this quiet, and yet I checked on YouTube, so it was up and running, and well, maybe we'll figure out some of these other glitches and things in the meantime.
Give us time to do that.
Take care and enjoy your dinner, Raina.
Yeah, take care.
Okay, well, I am going to end as well. It's been a technical glitchy kind of week. And yeah, hopefully everyone's doing good. If you're on the rewatch, let me know in the comments below. You get to see all the wild adventures that happen this week. Take care. Have a great one.